In Wastedge we use SVCRP, or Single Vehicle Capacitated Route Planning, to resequence regular route stops. The process takes account of bin load at each stop, truck capacity, depot and disposal site location, and, if required, customer time constraints. As the immediate preparation for optimizing, you should have a single depot selected, whatever disposal sites are appropriate to this run, and of course all of your route stops. This tutorial excludes customer time windows, so let's check our preferences. Click on the User Preferences button and let's have a look at the optimizing settings. Optimizing applies customer time windows is currently shown as unchecked, and the optimizing search is shown as standard. For most requirements we recommend using standard. Quick is suitable for a check of settings changes, and thorough should be used where you have a large number of stops, particularly of 150 or more. So those settings are correct. Just as a quick review, we have a single depot set and we have the appropriate tip sites for this particular run selected. To start optimizing, click on the SVCRP Optimize button. The processing dialog appears and shows progress as the solution converges. So in the dialog you'll see distance improvements on each pass, and when processing finishes you may get a warning dialog, in this case saying that no time window processing has been set, but some stops do in fact have time constraints. So click OK on that and we can review the processing dialog. So that's converged nicely on a solution and has given us a stop sequence that makes sense. At this point, labeling stops will help you identify time on site and also details of the actual bin counts collected. So because time constraints were not set, any failure to meet a constraint is shown labelled in red. So here we have a service time of 12:34 but a late specification of 7 AM. Let's have a look in more detail now at this sequence of stops produced through the optimizing process. If you scroll down the stop icon list in the right hand panel, you'll be able to see the equivalent marker on the map. So the sequence follows nicely on the same side of the river, switching and then returning. As a disposal trip becomes necessary, the stop sequence, as best as can, is positioned to be close to the disposal site. So the last stop, disposal trip, and then on to the next stop. So the final step, if you're happy with this sequence of stops, is to save the run. You do that by clicking on the Save button alongside the route name. So clicking Save shows a dialog in the bottom and a message referring to the altered route order. So now we can review this by reloading. So let's click on R1D1 to load the stops. And then if we click on the button indicating stops order, click once and it will show the current stops order as connecting lines. If we click again, it'll show the detailed route plan. We'll have a look at the route plan in more detail in the tutorial covering visualizing the final stop sequence. The important thing to note here is that the depot's been inserted into the stop stream as well as disposal sites. So if you want to do further processing on this run, it's recommended that you actually remove those stops before starting another run. So that concludes the tutorial, SVCRP, excluding customer time constraints. In the next tutorial, we'll look at running exactly the same job, but including time windows as a comparison. So the final result from this particular run was a total on-road kilometres of about 100. So we'll have a look at the result after the next run.